is on vacation, I believe. There we go. So I'm not as smooth as Charlene, so we're just going to kind of rip through this sucker. The first thing we do want to do is welcome all the brand new agents that have come on board to us. We got a new agent in Lancaster, in Hornell, in Penfield, and Pittsford, Maine, and all the other agents that have come on board recently. Welcome to the company. Welcome to Howard Hanna, and we look forward to having our 20-year pins together. So congratulations to all of you and welcome. Next, we want to go to our, Kentucky Derby. I want to let everybody know that we are having a Kentucky Derby event Saturday, May 6th. That is the day of the Kentucky Derby. It's going to be at 4 p.m. to 7:30 at the Hamburg Brewing Company. And you can support in two ways. You can attend the event, which we hope that you do. Another way that you can do to support the event is to get a sponsorship, help us bring sponsors in. These are the levels. It's a great cause. It's a great event. It's something that we're going to be able to help a lot of families with in our area. And it's something that I just can't say enough about. So again, this is one of those things. I think this last holiday was something where we all got to reflect on gratitudes and things that we're grateful for. I think there was a lot of Easter egg hunts. I saw my neighbors across the street, the kids all out looking for Easter eggs. I think this is a time to be mindful that there was a lot of families that didn't get to have that holiday, and they were at the hospital, they were doing different things, and they tried to make it the best that they could. So as we're reflecting on kind of our blessings and how lucky we are, we have a great opportunity to help other people that might need our help. So if you can, please make some time for the event. I think it's going to be a fantastic one. Next, office spotlight. So Mr. Rob Reimer from our Chi-Li Ogden office. We're going to shift it over to Rob.
All right, are we ready?
We're ready.
You hear me? Okay, great. All right, well, I'm Rob Reimer. I'm the manager of the Chi-Li Ogden office. I'll give you a little history of the office. This office was originally a historical house that was converted to a Knoth Nagle office back in 1983. So this office location has been here for 40 years. Now, we originally were called the North Chi-Li office, which is a small community just a little bit to the west of us. But during the mid-1990s, being that we didn't have an office in Chi-Li, we didn't officially have an office in Ogden. I was the manager at that point in the mid-90s, and I renamed the office to the Chi-Li Ogden office, and that name has stayed around ever since. To kind of give you an idea of how the atmosphere is in this particular area, it's kind of a cross between college town and rural and suburban. So it has quite a variety of mixes in the community here. Being that we're only about 1,000 feet from Roberts Wesleyan University, they are a full university now, we continually see their athletes, both male and female athletes, the runners and the track people go by our property, training up and down the road. And so you get kind of a college town kind of feel. But then a little bit to the west of us, it gets very rural, a lot of farmland, a lot of, open spaces and et cetera. And a little bit to the east, it's suburban areas, houses, 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 houses. So we have quite a diversity in how we feel the properties are in this area. Now, when you kind of put all that mix together, I noticed that this past year, the average sale price for our office, which is pretty, along with the community, was just a little bit over $200,000. And so a $200,000 average sale price is actually pretty good. And we're seeing that, of course, this year go up even higher. I mean, even your smaller properties, your Cape Cods, your typical split levels are now easily selling for over $200,000. And I think a lot of markets are experiencing that. So that's just a little bit about us. And I'll take a quick moment just to show you a couple different things. Over here is Heather. She is the mainstay, she's our professional assistant. And then over in the other room here, I think I can zoom that in there. We've got every Monday morning, we get together, a group of us, to watch live from Western New York. And, there's a lot of history in this office with basically our resident decorator, Joan Greeno, does a wonderful job changing the decorations throughout the office. And we have a history of having great Christmas parties we go to a huge extent to decorate the office at Christmas time, and we have a party just for that. So it's very nicely run. But I would have to say, probably the thing that's really special about this office is the agents. The agents that work out of this office, their average drive time is around 20 minutes each way just to come to the office. So we have agents that work out of this office that live in, Batavia and Byron and Bergen and Caledonia and Scottsville and Fairport and Irondequoit and Sodus Point and, all Greece and all over the place. So they drive a long ways to participate in what we have going on here. So I really appreciate that. And then I looked at our sales that we did out of the office. We actually listed and sold properties in 11 different counties last year out of this office, including Buffalo and Syracuse. So if I'd say anything special about the office, I think it's the agents. So with that, anything else? I think I'll shut off, let you guys get onto your program.
Hey, Rob, is there anything like if I'm thinking about coming to Chilai Ogden, is there anything in that town or in the area that is like a big attractant? Like I would say, hey, there's a festival there, or you guys do you're talking about Christmas, a festival of lights or anything like that. Is there anything that you guys are really known for specifically in the town or the area?
Well, I'd have to say probably one of the most known things is that we have a lot of parks. We have a lot of parks in this area. So, if you got to run your dogs, you have baseball games or et cetera, we got, a county park, Black Creek Park, which is a beautiful park with pavilions and different things for people to enjoy. So I'd have to say the parks in this area are probably one of the standout things.
Cool. Great. Thanks, Rob. Great job. Appreciate
All right.
it.
You guys have a good day.
You as well.
All right.
Miss Avery is there, the slideshow. Here we go.
What? Can they still hear me?
Okay. So here's the deal. We want to talk a little bit about listings. On the last Live from Western New York, we had kind of had some commentary in the beginning, and I remember Danny Kappa was talking about one of the challenges is that people are having a hard time listing the properties, finding the right price for properties. And we kind of want to talk about this. So again, because this is Live from Western New York and it's just kind of updates, it's not supposed to meant to be training. What we hope to give you is some thoughts and ideas to take back to your managers, to work at in your offices, and to go from there. Just one quick reminder, if you're not muted, please mute, and we'll go on to this. I want to talk about what is a list price. So the first thing that you want to think about, a list price is really an arbitrary number. Let's say that we had a property, we're going to list it for 150,000, or we could list it for $1 million. It doesn't matter. What matters is the price that we pick is what's going to bring the most buyers' eyes to the property, where enough people are going to say, you know what, looking at that property, looking at that price, it's a reasonable investment. It's something that we want to look towards. If it's priced too far out, it's not going to make sense. And people are going to say, no, it doesn't make sense. We're not going to look at that. So again, you can put whatever price you want on a property. Doesn't mean it makes sense, but you can put any price. It's just an arbitrary number. It's the strategy that you use to implement that price that brings the buyers in and makes it viable for people as we move forward. So when you're looking at list price, there's a bunch of things that we got to use. So it's not just kind of like, oh, I just looked at comps and this is the price. You have to look at the goals of the sellers. You have to look at their needs, the time constraint that they have. Do they have a lot of time to play with? Do they not have a lot of time to play with? Do they got to go fast? We do look at the solds. We looked at what they're competing with currently. So that's what's active. Everything that has failed or expired or temporarily off the market. You got to look at that motivation of the seller. So what I mean by that is a lot of times people will say, well, this is how I live in the house. I'm not going to change the way that I live for other people. Well, they need to, they should. Again, the way that you live in a property when you're listed is not the same way that you live in your property every day. So I do think that the motivation of the seller really does matter, because if they're not willing to participate in the process, it can be a lot more challenging for you to get to the end result. We're going to look at appraisal data, ownership data. So, how long have they owned it? What have they done to it? What we've seen a lot in the last few years is that people have bought and then we see a quick turnaround and then we see a higher asking price than what they paid for it. And we say, well, what did you do to it? They say nothing, but the market's hot. So again, if I'm working with a buyer, those are things that we look at. to consult buyers to say, you know, is it reasonable? Does that make sense? So you got to look at the other side as well. Of course, we're always going to look at the condition, the location. I believe you always need to look at resale when you're talking about these things, when you're especially talking to buyers, but you want to look at all of these ancillary things as well. Are there multiple sellers, divorce, you know, are they flippers, are they investors, all that kind of stuff. So I think those are the things that matter. Then we got to go to what are strategies. Now, again, there's only about 3 to 4 strategies. So you can price a property low to get high. So what that means is, let's say that we want to end up around 150,000. We price the property at 140,000. We hold off all showings, we delay it, and then we have a bunch of people coming at one time, and hopefully it creates a bidding war, and a lot of people, creates momentum, and they start, you know, multiple offers, jack the price up over what you initially put. So you go at the lower number to attract more people, to get the competition, to drive the price up, and hopefully you go over the 150. So you're going low to get the high. And again, you got to have a strategy with that. It is time dependent, it's market dependent. I did that, it was probably 10, 15 years ago. I tried that strategy and I missed it by a week. Like you just felt the market shift. I tried to go low, but here's a challenge. You have to also not only be able to articulate the challenge, you have to explain to the sellers what are the potential, you know, what are the potential downfalls. So for example, if you go low, let's say that you're the seller's hoping that they get around 150, and we go to the 140 mark to try to get that momentum, and it doesn't occur, it's really hard to go back and then raise the price again and say, well, we didn't get the 140, we didn't get anybody at 140, but now we're going to raise it to 150. So there is a little bit of risk when you try to go low if the market's not sustaining, and if the market doesn't have that kind of all those conditions for the product that you have. So again, just because let's say that the overall market's performing one way, you might be in a niche market. You might be somewhere where the type of property that you have is not performing the same way that others are. You have to be mindful of that. So if you try that strategy, you don't go too low. The other challenge is you create too big of a gap. So like if you want 150, you say, well, we'll go at 130. That gap's probably way too big. So again, there is strategy in how you do the go low to get high. Then strategy number 2 is just go at the price. So if you want 150, just ask for 150. So you're going at the price that you want. That's what I want to ask for. That's what I'm willing to take. I'll just go at 150. So that's going at the price. The one that you haven't seen in a long time is going high to get low. When the market was different, and especially in buyers markets, for example, you would see where somebody said, you know what, we want 150. Let's price it at 160 because someone's going to try to lowball me, and then we're going to negotiate and end up around the 150 mark. And so there was that strategy. And another strategy is also the variable range pricing strategy, where there's a strategy in doing that. You got to be mindful of the gap, number 1. Number 2, in the specific marketplaces, it may not work as well as in other marketplaces. So for example, you have to know the product that you have to know how the market is performing and in your certain price range. So if you're in kind of a lower price range, it might be a good strategy to play with. If you use the gap too big, for example, so let's say, and I'm just making stuff up, if you went 300 to 400, that is a completely different buyer. Now, I get that you're trying to create opportunities there, but if you don't do variable range pricing correctly, you can just create a challenge that you have to kind of justify your actions with the seller, why the strategy didn't work, why it wasn't implemented correctly, all those things. So again, you can go low to get high, go at the price, go high to get low, or you can try something around like the variable range pricing strategy and figure out what is the best thing to do with your seller. Now, how you do all of those things changes dramatically. So again, there's multiple ways to go low to get high. There's multiple ways to go at the price. There's multiple ways to go high to get low. So you have to have a good knowledge to be able to explain to your sellers, what do all of these mean? So again, as I said earlier, these are ideas for you to go back to your manager and say, okay, what was Matt talking about? How would we do that? How would we do low to get high? How would I have that conversation? What are strategies around this? If I have this Cape Cod, Rob talked about Cape Cods around, 200,000 even. If I have this nice little Cape Cod, how do I have this strategy that this is the right strategy for the sellers? How would we do it? How would we market it? How would we brand it? What is the timing? How long would we delay it? All of those things matter. So now The other thing that we're seeing is we're going into listings and we're cutting our value before we even start. So Lisa, could you go to the slideshow? So I want to show you guys something that I think. So again, I'm going to just show you an example. I know this isn't true net. There's a lot of factors that go into true net, but you're going to just follow the example. Let's say that we have a property for $258,000. We list it for $258,000 and it goes for $42,000 over asking. Now we've seen this, right? Like this isn't like Star Wars. We've seen this in the last year or so. So now if you look at that, 258,000 times 6% is 15,400. So again, you subtract that 6%, you're left with 242,600. And 42,000 over asking, it takes that sales price of 300,000. Okay, so now if you take the 300,000 times 6%, it's $27,000. But the net difference between the 273,000 and the 242. So think about that. Somebody hires you to list the property. You list the property for 258,000. They said to you, we'd be thrilled with 258,000. Great. So at 258,000, we create a marketing strategy. We have a pricing strategy. We get the multiple offers and it goes for $42,000 over asking. And they ask you if you're willing to cut your commission. Lisa, could you click one more time? That seller netted 30,000 more. So why would you cut? Let's say, you know, they said that they were happy with that 258,000. If you got them 300,000 on that, they could pay a 19% commission and net the same as getting the straight 258,000. They'd actually be positive $400 at 19%. One of the things that's happening is that we don't have a strong value proposition when you walk in. It's kind of like we're taking orders rather than having consultation. We need to go in there and show our value. And this is why we believe that this strategy is going to be beneficial. This is why we believe that this is going to equate to this. Now, I'm not guaranteeing multiple offers. Please don't do that. But if you look at strategy, you look at data, and you start to say, based on what we see, we believe that this is a strong reason to do X, Y, or Z. So next slide, please. Please remember you're compensated on performance, on a performance contingency basis. So if the strategy doesn't work and the property doesn't sell, you don't get compensated anything. So why we're going in and just cutting our opportunity right from the beginning, because people don't understand how we work. It's crazy to me. You only get compensated on a favorable result, and that's the favorable result to the seller. So even if the seller took 260 on that 258, or even if they accepted 250, they accepted it. So it's a favorable result to that seller. It was what they accepted. You performed in line with what you said that you were going to do. You helped them get that property sold. That's the goal. That's what you're here to do. The other thing I think that's interesting is, are you showing them that there's different opportunities? So facts tell and stories sell. We've all heard that. Are you using visuals to tell the story of what's going on? So here's one that I used to use. It's the green light, yellow light, red light. Green light's everything that is sold. Yellow light's everything that you're currently competing against, everything currently on the market. And the red is the properties that expired off the market, failed, haven't worked out. And let's say that they say that they want to get $350,000 for the house. Looking at this and looking at the data, is it reasonable? What strategy would we implement? What if they have to be in a new district in 3 months? What are their goals? What are their motivations? All of those things are going to matter when you're figuring this out. But let's say that they say they want the 350,000, and we look over at the properties expired, the things that haven't worked. They're in the range of performing in a place that things haven't been working out that well at that price point. And let's say, for example, that early on in your listing presentation, you ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is a knockdown and 10 is a completely brand new property, how would you rate the condition of your property? And let's say that they said an 8. So now we're looking at, they say they have an 8 condition property, properties that we're currently active and competing with. We got some new builds, we got some brand new ones, we got some other ones that are updated, etc. They have an 8 condition, but they want a 12, 15 price. So based on where we would put that on the properties off the market or the ones that have failed, why is that one going to perform when others have not performed that way? And it's a great visual to show them that what they think that they want hasn't performed well in this marketplace. So even though they want it, it may not make sense. And we have to have a correlated strategy that would make sense to get us there. So again, are you using visuals to show people how your strategy makes sense or which strategy is the best one to use. Last thing I'm going to say is like the list price to sale price ratio before I shift it to Ken. Well, actually, let me do this. Lisa, keep going with this slide. These are just reminders. The listing properties is not throwing an arbitrary number at the wall. You have to use data and you have to use strategy on why you're listing a property the way that you're listing it, why you're making those suggestions for the seller to come to those conclusions. You need to get competent at the data and the story that you can tell, which is going to help you come up with the best strategy. And then take time to meet with your managers, look at each property differently, try to figure out which is the best way to move forward. You know, one thing that's come up a lot recently is like list price to sale price ratio. So this is a great way that you can use data to be able to talk to people about how do we move forward. So let's say that list price sale price ratio, I'm going to use Chilai Ogden because Rob was just on there. Let's say that it was at 108% right now. So let's say that a buyer qualifies for 150,000 and the average list price to sale price ratio is 108%. That puts them at 162,000. So before I shift over to Ken Winowski, this is a conversation we want to have with our buyers. If we're trying to open up a strategy that's going to bring the most buyers in that qualify, we have to make sure that we're being strategic on, are we offering this product so as many people that can come in can perform? If I have people that qualify for 150 and they're going at an average 108% over asking, they can't qualify these people. So now you're going to alienate these buyers. You're going to frustrate these buyers. They're going to say, why did you take me to this? Why is this even an option for us? We knew that we couldn't afford it. Why are we playing here? I think all of these factors, again, one of the best things that you can do to list a property is think about how you would take a buyer through that property. What would be the strategy for that buyer to come in? When I have difficult sellers, sometimes I will say to them, you know, one of the great things is that I have a great relationship with a lot of buyers, and I've walked a lot of buyers through properties and helped them be successful. These are the things that I look for when I'm working for buyers. These are the questions that I want answered. When I look in the MLS and I pull data, I need these questions answered. So how would you answer these? How would you stack these up? These are the things that I think we need to do a better job of consultation versus just kind of getting out there, taking the listing and taking it at a high price because we don't want to lose it. I think that there's some value in that, but there's also a lot of value in consultation. And I think it comes on both ends, the list side and the sales side. And so what I hope that you take from this is that there's a lot more to it than just throwing an arbitrary number on the wall. I would get with your manager, I'd get with your mentors, and I'd sit and say, what the hell was he talking about? How would we do that? What does that mean? What if we tried this strategy? What if we tried that? What would we do? And if nothing else, you're going to come up with some great word tracks. You're going to come up with some great ideas, and it's going to make you stand out in the marketplace so that you don't have to get on the defensive. You can be offensive and get where you need to go and make sure that we help as many people as we can. Now with that, I'm going to pass it over to our fearless leader, Ken Winowski, at First Priority.
Thank you, Matt. I like it when we don't plan and we just want to talk, because a lot of the things that you said roll into what I was going to discuss too. And I just want to kind of reflect on, you know, we've talked, I've done talks on the financial side of things and what happened to, you know, Silicon Valley Bank and what the Fed is doing and everything like that. But I just wanted to stop and say, okay, we talked all about this. Everybody knows where we are. How do we make a difference now? And how do we be the one, you know, there's people that watch things happen. There's people that wait for things to happen. And there's people that make things happen. And I think our audience are all people that want to make things happen. So if we just look back at how we got to where we are right now, and we always talk about the market, and we don't make the market, we don't set the market, we deliver the market. And the fact is, the Federal Reserve has raised rates 9 times. Okay, 7 times last year, twice this year. They may raise it 1 or 2 more times. The bond market does not, you know, they're already discounting. They're waiting for the Fed to start cutting rates. I'm going to say this, and this is hard for everybody to fathom. The Federal Reserve wants rates to be high so people lose their jobs and the economy gets worse. That will slow things down. Now, for everybody to really fathom that and say, how can our own country want people to lose their jobs? That's the result of raising rates, is to slow the economy. So we're already past all that. We already understand where we're going, you know, what the whole, you know, is it going to work? Nobody knows. In 2 years, we'll tell you if it worked. But what we're seeing, And I was in downstate New York last week. Every person I talk to on the real estate side, we have lack of listings. Yep, we have a lot of buyers. We have a lack of listings. Values are holding steady. So I want to step back and say, all right, I think most of us can agree that there's a lack of listings. Some pockets, there are more. We still have high buyer demand. We still are doing more pre-quals than we did last year. So that tells us people still want to buy. Every 0.5% drop in interest rate, and I know I said I wasn't going to say interest rates anymore, but a 0.5% drop is a big drop in payments. So we were quoting rates in the low 7s 2 months ago. We've been locking people in the high 5s, 6% range most recently. So rates have dropped in the last 2 months. So every 0.5% drop, more people get back in. So more people call us, more people want to get a pre-qual. I had someone that was away last week. He wrote 4 mortgage applications. He goes, I should go away more often. So we're sending him away next week. He can write 4 more applications. So people are still busy. As the rates come down, more people will get back in the market. So if we look at what is the current consumer behavior, sellers say, I don't want to sell my home because where would I go? So I think that's the $1 million question that we all have right now. And remember this whole bubble thing that, oh, there's going to be a bubble. Well, values have not dropped. You know, they could be settling. Some areas could drop. Overall, I do not think that values are dropping. And in fact, you know, my neighborhood and the neighborhood next to me, I don't think there's one listing at all. At all. I don't see one for sale sign. I could be wrong, but maybe there's 1 or 2, but there used to be 5, 6, 7. Nothing. We have a 30-year-old development. What I think we have to do, people that want to list their house, we have to answer the question that they're going to ask. How can you make it easier for me? Us, we, mortgage consultants, real estate agents. How can we make it easier for you to list your house? Well, how can you also overcome my objections? Like, where would I go? We need to help them. We need to show them that your value now is you may be worth 100,000, 200,000 more. So where you can go is really, oh, well, I'll pay more. Exactly. Look at the wealth you've created from your current home. And now if you list your home. So I think we all have to work on helping the person decide to list their home. And not just, we send out mailings, we have great products, we can flood the market with more products. We have products. We have people that just need to get their offers accepted. So, and I don't, there's details inside all of that. Yes, our consumers that are buying houses, they're getting frustrated. They're putting in multiple. We get that. We're trying to help them. But I think we all have to have a joint effort because of the strength that we have by being mortgage, by being real estate, by being insurance. Let our mortgage consultants talk to your listing agents. Let us talk to the people that are listing their homes, because we can share with them, hey, this is the new market that we're in, that we're delivering, and maybe we all can change consumer behavior. And I believe that since we're a disruptor, if we have those individual conversations, and if all of our agents got into someone's home to sit with them, and if we have 2,500 agents across New York State, we'd probably walk away with 1,000 listings. We're good at what we do. We just have to change our behavior to help the listing, the people that want to list their homes, change their behavior about the market. That's what I have this week. Thank you all. Happy Dingus Day. I was already called out that I don't have red on. I didn't have green on for St. Patrick's Day. I'm just a little off on my holidays, but thank you all.
I think Lisa's got us all covered with the red for the Dingus Day. So she's our representative for Dingus Day. I think, Ken, one of the biggest points that you made is that there is so much uncertainty right now, but it also is correlated with fear. And whether you're on the list side or the sales side, it's imperative that we're having consultative conversations with people. And, I think a lot is we have to take a very objective approach where, people say there's nowhere for me to go. And I think that here's a good word track that I've been able to use that has helped me very much. Is I say, I don't know if I would agree with that. Now, I don't say I don't agree with you or you're wrong. I don't know if I would agree with that. but then I have to have education and consultation to back it up to say, here are the things we're seeing. So it goes back to the previous conversation of data points and strategy to say, here's why I may not agree with you. And then we can come to some conclusion as we go. It's less confrontational, it's less me versus them, and it creates a a conversation versus kind of me talking at them. So I think you hit it right on the head. There's so much uncertainty, and not only do they want it easy, they want to be empowered to understand. And I think that that's where we have to have this opportunity to work together to say, hey, I have somebody that you need to speak to. Again, when I have a buyer, the very first step is that my first party mortgage consultant is going to call you, and we're going to do a situation analysis. We're going to figure out where we're starting from, and we're going to go from there. And they're going to help you with other questions and concerns that you might have. What about my credit? What about this? It's not just mortgage and payment. It's so much deeper than that. And I think that you hit the nail on the head, is that we have to really show them that it's a collaborative opportunity to say, we have kind of the answer for it. We have what you need. We can sit together and help each other out. So I think you're right on with that.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, so we're gonna move on really quick. Some updates, education. Please know that you got great resources throughout. There's learning in every type of style that you have. If you want to learn in classroom, we have that. You want to go into Hannah, we have that. You want to do it in sales meetings, we have that. There are all of these classes for April, huge education going on. So please make sure that you are looking at these, you're looking at Hannah, you're looking at what's out there and available. And please start creating more education, but start implementing it. I think that, again, education without implementation is useless, so you can get all the information that you want, but if you don't start trying to apply it, you're not going to get any better. So please go and try these things. And I don't care if you've been doing this for 100 years, there's always a different perspective and a different way to learn. So, Maggie and Nan, they make it very easy. We have everything that you need to learn here. So any other slides here, Lisa, because we're running out of time here? No, I went just 3 minutes over. Charlene's going to be mad at me. Probably my last hosting duty. So I want to say happy Easter to everyone. I know we just ended it, but happy Easter, happy Dingus Day. And again, thank you for joining us, and wish you guys all a good week. Great.
Have a good week,
Kathy, anything
everyone.
you guys got for the group? No?
Have a good week. Go sell some,
Have a
go
good week,
list and
guys.
sell some property.
There we go. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Bye, guys.